We've got a freaking kaiju up in this shit.
Uh-huh.
The Suicide Squad is the sequel/reboot to the vastly disappointing 2016 Suicide Squad, but this time it is written and directed by the madman, James Gunn, who also wrote and directed the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Supervillains Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, and a collection of nutty cons at Belarev Prison join the super secret, super shady Task Force X, as they are dropped off at the remote, enemy-infused island of Corto Maltese. There are many reasons to be excited about this film. When they announced they're going to reboot Suicide Squad and they're going to bring in James Gunn, I thought that was perfect. Mainly because the first Suicide Squad was very disappointing, but it was clear from their marketing that they were trying to mimic the same energy that the Guardians of the Galaxy movie had. With the soundtracks, the colorfulness, the weird characters, it is clear that they were trying to make their own versions of Guardians of the Galaxy, and they failed miserably. So if you're going to reboot the franchise, why not go get the guy that made Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, and has a lot of involvement in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame? But part of me is a little bit worried because it's clear that Warner Brothers likes to get involved in some of these projects and ends up ruining them. Kind of like what happened with Justice League, and then we got the Snyder Cut, a lot better than Justice League. So I was worried that James Gunn wasn't going to be able to do what he wanted to do. And to my biggest surprise, this is the craziest film James Gunn has ever made. Holy fucking shit. Did they give him full creative decisions on everything? This movie is fucking bananas. The Suicide Squad is a fucking blast. It is so much fun. And back to James Gunn, he's just such a great writer and director when it comes to these types of movies. He knows what gives the movie so much energy, makes it so much fun, but he puts his own little style to it, and it's clear in this movie. I mean, this is definitely the most James Gunn movie ever made. And it really does seem like the studio did not interfere in making this film, because this film is really its own standalone movie where it doesn't really set up anything moving forward. They let James Gunn do his crazy wild shit, and it's rated R. Like, R as fuck. This movie is so fucking violent, but it's so awesome. Now let's talk about the humor now, because this movie's a fucking comedy at this point. It is so funny. That might turn some people off because with those DC movies, they like it to be a little bit darker and more serious. But I think with these plethora of characters and the tone and everything, I think going for a more comedic tone when you have all these characters together works very, very well. And yes, not all the jokes land. You knew that was going to happen. And there are a lot of moments where it seems pretty dramatic, and then a joke will come in and kind of ruin it. And that did frustrate me a little bit. Kind of reminded me of Marvel in a way. But I will say about 90% of the humor in this film really fucking works. It was hilarious. Let's talk about some of the performances and some of the new characters, because they were all great. They're very refreshing. Idris Elba was fantastic. Obviously, Margot Robbie is great as Harley Quinn. She was a lot of fun. She has a really great sequence when she's fighting with a spear and there's like flowers everywhere. That was fucking awesome. John Cena was great in the film. I liked his character. I mean, there's so many characters in this film. It's very mind-blowing. But they focus on the right characters, and they actually give them development that really works, which gives the movie heart, which I was very surprised by. Yes, I said the humor can be a little distracting sometimes, but there really are some very dramatic and serious moments that really work with these characters, and they add a lot of heart to this movie. And I was very surprised by that as well. Yes, they don't have a crazy 5-minute montage at the beginning of the film to go over the backstory of like 10 different characters. They actually take their time and focus on the right characters here. But by far my favorite new addition was King Shark. I mean, he was fucking hysterical. He is for sure gonna be a fan favorite. I have no doubt in my mind. I like the story and plot here. It's very simple, and that's exactly what you need to do in a film like this, and it really works. And there's a lot of weird shit that's thrown in this plot that I won't get into because it'll be spoilers, but just James Gunn being really fucking weird, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And then there was some times, like I said, very dramatic and a little frightening. I was surprised by some horror elements that happened in this film. And like I said, it's really just them letting James Gunn go crazy. And fuck yes, I'm so happy they let him do that. Honestly, I had so much fun watching this film, I don't even really want to talk about my issues, but I will. You guys watch my videos to get my honest opinion on movies. So here we go. Yes, the humor sometimes can ruin dramatic moments, and sometimes the humor in here doesn't always work. And when it ruins these dramatic moments, it sometimes can be distracting. But my biggest issue with this film is the villains. They are very throwaway. They're not in it much, though. I gotta give the movie a compliment for that, because they understand the villains are weak here, so they're not really in it too much. But unfortunately, the villains overall are still pretty weak, just like the original Suicide Squad. And there's another subplot that's thrown in here that is so brushed to the side. It's barely referenced. It appears every 45 minutes or so often for, I'm not kidding, maybe 15 seconds. And I always forget that that's actually a thing. But they can't take it out of the movie because there's a really, really funny joke that happens at the beginning of the movie that if they take off that subplot, it kind of ruins the joke. I don't know what they were supposed to do there, but that plot is just so throwaway. It really blew my mind. It doesn't ruin the movie as a whole, obviously, because it's barely in the movie. But the fact that it's just in the movie is kind of funny because it's barely referenced at all. But the villains are very weak, forgettable, throwaway. But I get why they're in the movie. They're there to get to a bigger thing that I won't say because that'd be spoilers. So I get why they're in the film, and they're really not in it too much. But I gotta dock some points for it because they were pretty weak. The Suicide Squad was a fucking blast. I had so much fun watching this film. I am so happy Warner Brothers gave James Gunn full reign to just make a crazy ass fucking movie. This is by far the craziest movie James Gunn has made so far. James Gunn brings so much energy here with his directing and script, and it's clear he was the right choice to bring this franchise back to life. This film is absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's damn near a comedy, but it has some heart and some very dramatic moments that were surprising to me. All the performances were great. We were introduced to some new and refreshing characters that were fucking awesome. King Shark was my favorite by far. He is going to be a fan favorite. Mark my fucking words. Some of my issues were some of the jokes didn't really land, and sometimes the humor can overtake a dramatic scene, and that can be distracting. And also the villains are very weak and forgettable, and there's a subplot that is so thrown to the side, it absolutely blows my mind. But these issues really aren't that big of a deal because this movie was just so much fucking fun. I'll give the Suicide Squad 8.5 Davy Daves. I can't wait for you guys to see it this weekend. I actually was lucky enough to go see an early screening for this. It was actually my first time seeing a movie at an early screening. It was a very fun experience, packed theater. Everyone loved the film. So I'm very excited for you guys to see it this weekend, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about it. Let me know what you guys think. And thank you so much for watching. Click here to see more of Davey Dave's Takes.